Hey everybody, we got another guest in the studio today. It's Jared from Guns and Gadgets. Stay tuned for an awesome conversation. This is attorney Andy Marcantel and attorney Marc J. Victor. We're the partners at the Attorneys for Freedom law firm here today with another guest in the studio. We got Jared from Guns and Gadgets. How you doing, gentlemen?
Great day. Great to be here.
Awesome to have you here, man. So happy to have you on our team.
Thank you. To have you in the studio.
It's an honor.
Great to partner up with you and the awesome things that you're doing over on your channel. Why don't we start with that? For our viewers who haven't heard about Guns and Gadgets and you, what do you do on your channel? What's it all about?
Sure. So the easy thing is if somebody's into the Second Amendment, whether it's lawsuits and litigation or prosecutions and stuff like that, or anything coming out of Congress, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, I try to research that for the people, put it in layman's terms so they can understand it. And then I'd give them an action of how they can support a bill, stop a bill, talk to Congress, run for Congress, stuff like that. So if it's anything freedom-related, specifically in the Second Amendment, you'll find it on my channel, no matter what state it happens in.
You're an activist.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, you used your platform to be an activist.
Yes, sir.
To push the bus in the right direction on freedom issues.
Yeah, force it sometimes.
That's why we like you.
We love it, man. We're activists as well. We're pushing in the same direction. One of the things I love about you so much, and I'm glad I got to know you a little bit. We just had lunch together, and sometimes people are one-issue people, and so much of your channel is Second Amendment. I mean, hell, you got the Second Amendment tattooed on your arm. And yeah, I have guns as well, and I don't want anybody telling me I can't have them. But you care about more than just the Second Amendment. You care about freedom generally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell us about that. I don't think people know that side of you.
No, so for me, I try to boil it down to an old cliche from when I was in law enforcement, tools in a toolbox. Our rights, our amendments, everything that we know as a true natural right, it's a tool. And we all have them, but we can't tell somebody how to use a certain right or if they can or can't. And that's how I try to get people to understand. You might not be a gun person, but I still have that right. And I'm not going to take away your right to, protest the government on an issue that I might not agree with. We all have our rights. We're here in America. We're supposed to coexist. And I think we have more things in common as Americans than we do that items that divide us. So we just need to get back to that.
Yes, thanks for saying that. We have more that unites us than divides us. Yeah. And one of the things that I think really could unite us is the fact that, look, freedom is about the right to live however you want, even if it's a way I don't live. Like, if you hate guns, that's fine. Don't have any guns. That just doesn't mean you get to tell other responsible, competent adults that they can't have guns. But there are things we don't like. Like, for example, I don't drink alcohol. Some people maybe don't know that. It's just not a thing for me. Mm-hmm. And I think I was the only guy in the Marine Corps who didn't drink beer. But that doesn't mean I would be one bit less ferocious opposing a law that tried to ban alcohol than anybody else who loved it. In fact, I think I'm in a better position to defend the right to drink alcohol because I don't drink it.
Yeah, real quick, that's a super important point. We tell people this all the time when it comes to issues of the drug war, for example. The people I'm not impressed by people who smoke marijuana who think that marijuana should be legal. Yeah. That's a given. I'm not impressed. Right. I'm impressed for the person who doesn't smoke marijuana, who maybe thinks it's morally detestable
or unhealthy, bad, terrible,
but stands up for the rights of competent adults to exercise that right, even if it's something that they don't agree with. That's the important person in the Freedom Fund.
And that's something that I've changed totally on my outlook. When I was in law enforcement for 24 years, you're marching down that road where that's all bad. And as I've grown as a person, I've seen people in my family who have benefited from medicinal marijuana and issues with cancer and stuff like that I never knew before. So now I am of the opinion that it does have benefits for people if used correctly and not abused like everything else. And they have that right. If they want to treat themselves with something, it's something that grows out of the ground. It's not something we manufacture from space. It's something that was here. It was part of the earth, part of God's creations. It's not my spot to tell people they can't do that.
I'm going to push back a little bit on that.
I know exactly what you're going to say, too.
Imagine if it wasn't on God's green earth and it was synthetically created in a lab. And Imagine it didn't have medicinal purposes.
It was bad for you.
The most unhealthy thing in the world. What we need in the freedom world is people still standing up and saying,
absolutely.
If that's a competent adult, they're in charge of their own body, property, money, and time.
Yep. Yeah, I say it all the time. I don't care what you do with your life, but you don't get to tell me how to do my life. And if we can just meet in the middle, then it'll be a great country again.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And it's one of the reasons I love to work with you, and I'm excited about our partnership working together because I want to support other pro-freedom people. I think that we need to get together as a crowd of people that says, look, freedom is important regardless how other people use their freedom. You don't get to interfere, like even the right to smoke marijuana. It doesn't mean you get to go drive your car down the road and create risks of harm to other people. That goes for alcohol. That's the same if you're tired. You never get to put another person at risk of harm. So that should be a standard. But if you're not doing that, you should be left alone. That's the hard work of freedom. That's what we need to get people to step up and understand. It's not just about your right to live in ways that I think are appropriate.
Right.
It's about your right to live in any way you think is appropriate. You're the iron-fisted dictator of your body, property, money, time. So that we see eye to eye on that is just really encouraging for me, and I'm really happy to support what you're up to out there, Jared, and your channel and what you're doing, and I want to be a big supporter of what you're up to, too. In fact, I can't wait to try some of that coffee you're pushing.
Some of the best in the world.
What is it? What coffee are you pushing?
So I'm one of the owners of Blackout Coffee.
Oh, okay.
And we're doing a small family-owned business in Florida, cranking out the best bean juice you could possibly drink.
Love it. Can't wait to try it. He's going to send some
link
over
in the
for
description to Blackout Coffee, guys. Go check it
Excellent.
out.
Yeah.
Tell me about your background in law enforcement. I didn't know that.
So I started in the Clinton era, 1997. I was a police officer. First 3 years was in New Orleans, Louisiana, which was basically a war zone before Katrina, and finished my career up in Massachusetts. Last 4 years were in a very small town. I did my career kind of backwards. I started in the big city on a team and ended up in a small suburban town where there wasn't a lot going on. Middle of winter, I was responding to a car accident and slipped and fell twice on my duty belt, destroyed my back, and that was kind of the end of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure that gives you, a lot of different perspectives, right? You're seeing the prosecutor's side, you're seeing the defense side. You understand our positions on things. You understand the state's position on things.
Yeah. And I think that's why my channel's done so well is because, I have been in the court. I'm not an attorney, but I've been in the courtroom for years, seeing how it operates, been in, tons of trials. So I get both angles, I get both sides, and throughout that experience has actually changed how I view things now as a, 48-year-old person.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Something that, because we had a civil rights practice at the law firm. We're criminal defense attorneys. Oftentimes we're cross-examining cops in a hostile way or interviewing them. You know all about that.
I'm familiar with that, yeah.
Yeah, but we call balls and strikes too. And we've defended cops who we thought were wrongfully accused of police misconduct.
Yep.
And we always try to emphasize the importance of you can't just broad brush any group of people. Any group of people.
Right.
There's good and bad. And we absolutely make it a point to, when we see a cop do a good thing, we call it. When we see a prosecutor do a good thing, we call it. We make sure that people don't just broad brush, when they're analyzing these topics.
Yeah.
I think it's important. So, Jared, you used to promote USCCA.
Yes, sir.
And now you promote AOR. I know that you were promoting them for a while. You started asking some questions that maybe you weren't getting sufficient answers to in your mind. You reached out to us. You took an interest in what we're doing here with Attorneys on Retainer. What was that journey like for you? What started your skepticism there, questioning, things like that?
Well, it was tough because I was working, and there were a lot of great people over there that I love those folks, some of those folks over there. But, I was with them for over 5 years, and I remember they had their product for years and trusted it to my family, And when some incidents happened, 2 major incidents that we were all aware of, Kayla's Giles case and the Alan Coley case, it got to the point where all the back and forth as information came out and evidence was revealed, and then the response by a couple different sides, that I personally, and this is why I made my decision, was me personally, I didn't feel 100% confident with the fact that if, God forbid, I walk out of this office and I have to shoot somebody to defend myself, yourself, one of my kids, my wife, I wasn't confident that they would cover me, because I've been on tons of shootings in my career and they're all ugly. There's none, very rare, unless it's on video, that it's open and closed and the first responding investigating officer says, no charges, this is good to go. It's very rare. And obviously, I'm nobody big, but it could be blasted as a higher profile case because of what I do for a living and teach people about their Second Amendment right. And I didn't have that confidence anymore that if, God forbid, I had to take action, that they wouldn't dump me for some reason. And because of that, I had to make a hard decision. And that led to me, looking at what you guys and gals have here going on. Because, the first couple of videos I watched of you guys in this scenario, this room here, I said to my wife That's the kind of attorney I want fighting for me, because you guys are bulldogs, and you can see it here. You guys are straight up and real. I mean, Bulldog Marine, you have a bulldog. I got to meet outside.
It's true. Beefy.
Yeah, that's true.
People acquainted with the channel know Beefy.
Yeah. And for folks who are watching, you need to have somebody. God forbid you're in a courtroom facing, living in a box. You're going to want somebody like Mike Tyson in your corner. And to me, I think that's what you guys and gals here are doing. And, I mean, that's why I am a member, because if I ever need you, I want you guys fighting rather than I don't know who until maybe it gets decided at some point later down the road.
No, we totally appreciate that. I mean, it's what we've been doing here the whole time. I mean, my attitude was if we're going to found a law firm, it should be founded on the right principles. And it should be staffed by lawyers who like to be lawyers, which means lawyers who like their craft, not just, trying to walk people through the system and cut a quick deal or something like that, or trying to get out of doing the hard work. I hire lawyers who are interested in bringing creative motions and thinking outside the box, who's not afraid to go up against the state. That could be a big thing, right? They have endless resources. Yeah, maybe we can get an expert. They could get 10 experts if they want, no problem. Their investigative resources are endless, so fighting the state is a big thing, but that's what we do. If you're a pro-freedom person, that's pretty much what you're doing.
Right.
You're trying to restrain the state. That's what the Constitution was about in the first place, restraining the state. And so we got lawyers here. Andy walked in. I think he was probably second or third year of law school. I don't know. What was it?
Second year of law school.
Plopped himself down in front of my desk and made it clear he wanted to work for a pro-freedom firm. He was a pro-freedom guy. What it was the position of the firm that attracted him here. And that's also the case with many other lawyers here, many paralegals. We got people here working the front desk who are excited about what our firm philosophy is. And I think that if you got the wrong philosophy, it shows in your work product. Yeah. I think it just shows up. If you don't like what you do, if you don't appreciate thinking outside the box, and that's really what it is about being a lawyer. You got to be creative, right?
I think something that you said is really important, and it's something Mark and I have talked about a lot, and I love picking the brain of law enforcement outside of work. Yeah. Mark and I have many friends who are in law enforcement all around the state. In fact, one of his best friends.
My best friend is
from the Marine Corps.
Yeah, from the Marine Corps, is retired Phoenix PD.
Yeah, so I love picking the brain of law enforcement, and something you said reminds me a lot of something Mark and I talk about all the time on this channel, which is when an officer shows up to a shoot, and maybe it's a homicide call, maybe it's a shooting call, they don't know what's going on, they show up, they're trying to figure everything out in that investigation. Mark and I kind of phrase it like this. Look, there are clearly good shoots, but those are the minority.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Then there's the questionable shoot, which is, I don't know. It's really, really fact-dependent, and the defendant or the defense attorney may have a very different telling of the facts than what the prosecutor's contending that happened.
Yeah.
Then there's the clearly bad shoot, right? And so I think it's really important what you said, that like when you show up, I mean, in your experience, when you show up, what's that like when the scene is being processed, when it's kind of being assessed? What are we dealing with here?
It's bad usually because you don't know what's going on. You're trying to figure something out based off of one person's claim. Maybe a couple witnesses actually have the intestinal fortitude to actually do the right thing. But you just have a crazy circus that you're trying to get a storyline out of, and probable cause isn't really a big threshold to meet. So you can actually get PC on somebody, and they might not actually be the one in the wrong. So it's tough. That's why the people who are the salt of the earth do it a little bit better than others. They'll dig a little deeper and ask some more questions, and sometimes buck the system where the state wants the investigation done and you want more time. But it's difficult. It's very, very hard to think that, all right, if I just had to defend myself, that the cop is coming, A, as a gun guy, B, is a Second Amendment proponent, C, cares about you at all, is not having a bad day, right. And then D, is going to make the decision the same way you did. Because Graham versus Connor is a Supreme Court case which said everybody's perspective, the way I perceive everything going on, it can't be wrong. But that doesn't mean that the cops coming and going to perceive things the same way. So that's why for me, it's huge to have you all, that if I need to, I just make the call and I'm actually talking to an attorney immediately who can guide me through that high stress.
I'm going to prey on your expertise for just one more thing
Sure.
that I think is important to our viewers, because we get asked all the time, what should I do after a shoot? And like Mark and I have the legal advice on what to do and what not to do after a shoot. But I want to, while we got you here,
Sure.
I want to get the law enforcement advice, because we always tell people, and make sure you don't get shot when the cops show up. They're getting a call from dispatch, they're confused
Yeah.
a lot of times. What's your perspective on this? How can people protect themselves if they've been involved in the shooting the cops are on the way?
Holster the gun, don't look like an imposing threat, and just whether you agree with what they're saying at the moment or not, just follow a couple orders to show your hands, maybe get clear, get on the ground. Even if you did everything right, the last thing you want is whoever's there to perceive you as a threat, because they're coming to a call that their life is already at stake. There's a shooting, so they're already justified to come in at a high level, and you just don't want it directed at you. But then I always used to, last probably 4 or 5 years of my career, I used to say this: you have the right to not say anything, and I always suggest you exercise your right.
You actually told people that.
Yeah. You have a right to remain silent.
Good for you, buddy.
I tell people all the time, they think the police are going to be upset. The good cops are not upset because people say, you know what, I think I'm not going to make a statement right now.
Yeah.
That's what they do. That's what they tell their kids to do.
What they tell their kids and loved ones to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I know that because I've got friends who are cops, and that's what they say. That's what the department tells us to do after a shooting. That's what your FOP guy is going to tell you. That's what you have taught your kids. Just keep your mouth shut. It's a right you have. You don't need anybody's permission to remain silent. And that's a good way to find out right up front what kind of cop you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Because if the police officer says, you invoked your right to remain silent, no problem, all good. If they start working on you, okay, now you know you got somebody who probably is a bit of a problem. All the more reason to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
They're just building a case. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're an investigator. They're not there to be your friend. They're not there to take your side, especially in that awkward silence. I used to call it the ride in the back, the ride to wherever lockup is, whether it's 5 seconds or 15 minutes. That awkward silence oftentimes will elicit responses that people shouldn't be saying. So just, know your role and shut your mouth.
Yeah, and one thing on top of that, I'm sure as you're acquainted with and probably have been advised by prosecutors on multiple occasions before testifying in a courtroom, the state can't comment on your post-arrest silence.
Right.
If you invoke your rights, see, people are worried like, oh, wouldn't that make me look suspicious if I said, I plead the fifth, I want to speak to an attorney, they're going to make me seem really suspicious and everything like that. No, the rule is the Constitution prohibits the state from even commenting on your post-arrest silence. In fact, there was a really memorable moment in the Rittenhouse trial where the prosecutor there attempted to imply guilt of Mr. Rittenhouse by saying he invoked his right to remain silent, and the judge tore him a new asshole.
As it should have.
Yeah, that was a good trial. You usually don't see that from a judge.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yep. Yeah. Never should have been a trial in the first place.
All right, guys, we're wrapping up the podcast here. Jared, any last thoughts, anything you want to bring up, any last topics we need to hit today?
Man, if you just if you want to have somebody in your corner if things go bad, I suggest you check out AOR. I did it for myself and my family, and that for people on my channel, that says a lot. They know how serious I am about what I support. So thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, we're proud to have you, man.
Appreciate your trust, man. Yeah, and you're in good hands. So is your family, and so is everybody out there who signs up on Attorneys on Retainer. So go check out our program, attorneysonretainer.us, to learn more about what this program can do for you. Also, learn about our firm. Attorneys for Freedom is not just a slick name. It's a philosophy that we practice every day with all of our clients in the courtroom and out. Go check out attorneysforfreedom.com. Learn all about us. And if you like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to our channel. Share it with a friend. Throw a comment down below, and we'd love to interact with you guys. Until next time, this has been Attorney Andy Marcantel, Attorney Marc J. Victor, and our good buddy Jared from Guns and Gadgets. Signing out.
Peace.
Peace.